Good evening, everybody. Today's topic is healing from spiritual laziness. So let's sit up straight. Let's take a deep inhalation, tense the body. Breathe out. 2 more times. Let's offer a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji, Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, our friend, guide, example, Swami Kriyananda Ji. We invoke your presence in this satsang and in every moment of our lives. O great masters, be with us night and day, guiding us, making us aware of the divine flow of vitality through our mind, our actions and words. And as we serve as your instruments, may we constantly, ever more deeply feel you, channel you, that we may all come ultimately in this lifetime to you. Om Shanti. Let's meditate just for a few moments. And we have some friends. Let's invite them in the class. They are waiting outside. Om, 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome, everybody. Normally, I'm able to also see you on a screen. Today, we don't have that, but I'm sure there are, how many of us are there together? 27 and 3-4 friends over here. 4 actually, not 3 or 4. And so it's a wonderful satsang, and a very, very important topic. All the great saints, including Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, they called laziness. And today we are going to talk especially about spiritual laziness or spiritual sloth, a disease. It's a disease. Why? In the beginning, you think, oh, if I had nothing to do, if somebody put a nice couch with an umbrella on the beach, I could sit there forever. And yes, we live in times where people are overworked. So that thought is somewhat natural. I think it's somewhat universal. But anyone who's tried to be in a couch for 4 hours, one day, I don't know if anybody's tried that. You just can't be there. These are some very good examples of how delusion is tricky, but it's also, you can see through it right there. Think of tasty food. You're like, oh, if only I could eat as much as I feel like. Well, in 20 minutes, you would be tired of overeating. Likewise, if we are talking about inertia, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for the body. Diseases will come. And as I said, it's a spiritual disease. The mind becomes dull and, think of a sloth in its own place in creation. It's a wonderful and actually a very sweet, cute animal. How it slowly moves, it turns and looks at you. And, it's been used in so many animations. And we could slow down on one level, which is to say, calm down or reduce our restlessness. However, laziness or falling there is simply not the place where we want to be. It's a disease, as I said. Now, There was a disciple in Sri Yukteswarji's ashram. Anybody who's read the autobiography will remember what this young monk or devotee used to say. They would finish the day's work, and Master said, we must meditate before we go to bed. Master said, never go to sleep without experiencing God. Why? Because any thought we go into sleep with is exactly how we wake up. It's a good proof of reincarnation. Nothing will change after death because you die in a certain way, and whenever it is time to wake up, you'll wake up that way. Night is like a death. You go in a certain way with a certain thought, and you wake up with that. So if you go in with the thought of the spiritual eye or peace or joy, you wake up with that thought. Our Dharmacharya Jyotishji mentioned that many years ago he was practicing a japa and trying to do it longer and longer and longer. And to his good surprise, he woke up one day and his lips were murmuring that japa. And he said he was so filled with joy because it was not 6 to 8 hours of sleep. It becomes a spiritual sadhana, which again, for anybody who thinks laziness is okay, let me show you the other end of the spectrum. Ramana Maharshi once said to one of his disciples, he was looking quite worried, and this disciple noticed that there was nobody else, and he said, sir, is everything okay? He said, oh yeah, everything is fine. I was just a bit concerned about your progress, your spiritual progress. And he said, please tell me, what can I do? I come here at 5 o'clock in the morning. I usually go at 10 p.m. I'm with you all day, serving you. What more can I do? Where am I lacking? And he said, you have never invited me when you go to sleep. You have never invited me in your consciousness. And Master said that too. He said, every night when you go to sleep, I go through your lives and I work on you. I change you. But then he added, I don't go where I'm not invited. So this is again, two great masters saying the same thing. These are spiritual principles that whether it is sleep or it is the wakeful state, or like Swami used to say, people are wakeful, but he said, are you really wakeful? He said, Master said, if you're not in bliss, you're still spiritually asleep. So anyway, back to this monk in Sri Yukteswarji's ashram, finishing the day's work, all these young boys would retire to their beds and he would pull his quilt very happily and he would tell everybody, Nidra Samadhi Sthiti. Sleep is Samadhi. Nidra Samadhi Sthiti. And Master would say, no, no, no. Samadhi, don't mix the two. Sleep, Nidra, is counterfeit Samadhi. It is a temporary rest. You know how many hours Master used to sleep? 5 hours a month. And he said to lead by example. And on one level, again, our civilization is sleep deprived. But don't, as a yogi, don't think that this is what you need. Sleep adequately. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, yoga is not for somebody who sleeps too much or too less. But as we depend on God and his energy more and more, we come out of these tamasic states. Another beautiful quote of Yogananda ji's on this subject is, which I heard in 2019 at the 50th anniversary in Ananda village from the team that built the Temple of Light over there. And beautiful quote. It's part of a long poem, but I'll quote these two lines. Master writes, and he's saying this to God, lest in sloth I lose thee, may I find thee in activity. That if you're lazy, you don't have God. You have a subconscious level of peace and dullness. But God, what is God? You know, in the caste system, which by the way was not meant to be hereditary, it was a moment by moment indicator. I've shared this and I'm happy to share it one more time. When I was in the monastery here in Pune for 6 years, when I would wake up, right in front of me on the wall, I had a sticker which had 4 little dots. And those dots were, when my eyes open, I should see those dots. And the question is, where are you today, Aditya? Are you in the Shudra consciousness, which is spiritual laziness? Oh, I don't want to get up. Oh, can I sleep a little bit more? And why do I have to go to meditate? That's not a good state of consciousness. It's a good, nobody has to tell you. You can decide what's your state of consciousness. Well, next state, if I get up, well, if I go and if I reach in time, I'll get breakfast. And if I go to the clinic, which I used to run, somebody will give me money. It was not a lot. It was 20 rupees per consultation. But fortunately, those kind of thoughts didn't cross my mind, but it was an indicator. I remember one time, or many times actually, if for a moment also I felt that today I'm not part of any big project or something that's happening over here, what should I do? And if my energy even tried to go down, I would immediately send a message in the community. Hey, I'm going to the city. We were 40 kilometers outside the city. I would say, I'm going to the city for some work. Do you need something? And when so many people are out there, everybody needs something. So I would end up buying a lot of things, shopping for the community, for the kitchen, for people, for my clinic. The point is, if we stay in Shudra consciousness, or as it is also called Kayast, what is a Kayast? A Kayast is a person who is body bound. And people say, well, we are all body bound, aren't we? Yes, we are body bound. In the beginning, it's okay. But as your consciousness rises, as you climb that ladder, you're not happy with the Vaishya consciousness. You're not actually happy ultimately with the Kshatriya consciousness also. You know, we live in a world right now which is beginning to taste a little bit of the Kshatriya consciousness. I won't go in the detail, but we've just come out of Kali Yuga into Dwapar. So it's primarily Vaishya consciousness. But what do people appreciate in these times? Well, the next higher step of Kshatriya consciousness. But if you ask a true Kshatriya, are you happy? They'll say, I'm happy. I'm happy to give my life also. But as they start evolving towards what is called Brahmin consciousness, the question is, what is life? Where does it come? I'm happy to give it to you or to my people, my country, but who are they? Who are we all? Where are we coming from? Where are we going? And when most people are dull and have none of these concerns, they're happy to be body bound. But Master, in the very beginning of his meditations, he would say, take a deep breath. And then he would say, now let's dump the body. And people would say, dump the body. And they would look at him, and right there in the hot sun or wherever he be, he was gone, beyond the ego, beyond the body, beyond the likes and dislikes, into God. And that is a kind of suffering also, ignorance. It's the mother of all diseases. So as we talk about healing, as we're talking about especially coming out of spiritual laziness, let's try to understand that we have to protect ourselves. Now, you may have to protect yourself even if you're a long-term devotee. It says in the Bhagavad Gita that, let's say, finally you've come out of tamas, or laziness in this case, spiritual laziness, into rajas, restlessness and all of that, into finally the divine peace of Brahman consciousness, and you're enjoying everything over there. And let's say somebody calls you to serve, and you have some unwillingness, and especially if that service is the right thing to do, you can make a mistake of avoiding it. And that is the beginning of another level of laziness. Swami Kriyananda ji, who was such an advanced disciple and dear disciple of his guru, Master used to teach his advanced disciples, he said, through silence. And Swami Kriyananda ji was very eager to learn. And one day Master gave them a talk about how meditation is the highest form of activity. And Swami loved to meditate. He was on spot. He's like, this is it. Next day, Master had given him some work to do, and Master asked him, did you finish that work, Walter? And Swami said, no, sir, I'm sorry. I couldn't find time for it. I was meditating. And Master said, well, in that case, Walter, please meditate less. Now, you see, for some disciples and devotees, that was the main teaching. Meditate more, learn to be calm, go deep. And for somebody like Swami Kriyananda ji, who at some point was meditating 16 hours a day, when he was a new disciple, 6 to 9 hours a day, along with his service, Master was saying, cut down on meditation and do my work, because that requires one to come out of another kind of mental or spiritual laziness, that what the guru, what God or guru tells you to do is the highest calling. So if you see today's flyer, and Maybe I'll request Maushmi to bring it out. I'll share just for a couple minutes more. You'll see that a very beautiful graphic has been shown over there. Is it up? Okay, now what do you see in that animation? Go on. Armchair philosophy. That's a very good thing. Oh, it's Patanjali said that? Jesus Christ said that? Okay, wow, that Bhagavad Gita verse is really deep. Well, the verse is deep, but are you deep in the pit of laziness? Or are we, as Master said, if required, a yogi should be able to summon, he said, the vitality of an animal. And that level of control on our inner energies is what can bring us out of that unhappiness, self preoccupation, that state of mental dullness, spiritual laziness. And when we come out of it, first of all, it straightens our spine. In the beginning, you have to discipline the body. Master said, I used to tell my body, I'm going to whip you if you don't meditate. I mean, he was firm with his body cells and such. And then he said that energy starts coming from inside out, whether it's your posture, whether it is your speech, whether it is your inspiration, you are in God more and more. Think of God in the form of energy or power. And then Master said, you're able to bring him out for your healing. And he said, for the healing of many, many others. So, what are some things that we can do if and when we find ourselves in spiritual laziness? Like I devised that method of SMSing everybody or energizing more. Well, first of all, let's wake up. Morning sadhana, morning energization, Maha Mudra. I remember one time I prayed to God on a night shift in a hospital. I said, Master, if you don't send patients for 1 hour, I'll be able to do Mahamudra for this hour. And I said, I want to do this. And I said, please. And he didn't send anybody. For exact 1 hour, slowly, I was able to do Mahamudra. After then I went for a walk. I felt so much taller. I felt everything was different. Why? Because you very lovingly, respectfully work on that energy. And then the patients came after some time, but talk to God in that way. I want to energize. I want to do yoga. I want to meditate. Tell some friends you're going to do something and then do it. Once somebody said to me, I'm not able to wake up in the morning. I said, why don't you become the technical assistant for Nayaswami Dhyanaji, who this was in the pandemic, where she used to do 6 a.m. classes and morning meditation. I said, that way you'll be there at 5:30 or 5:45. Accountability, take charge of things, meditate more. Like we have now, keep a list of prayers. How would you pray if a family member, Yogananda ji said, was on deathbed? That's how we should pray for everybody, because we are not by restlessness. That should not be the case even when our family members are there, but calmness, focus, purpose, integrity. So keep these things in mind. Ultimately, and I'll close with this, by living this way, we'll be a good example to others. We'll bring more healing perhaps to others. Certainly we will. But most importantly, we would be aware enough to work on ourselves, and we would have pulled ourselves out of what Yogananda ji, as I said in the beginning, called a spiritual disease. So I'll close over here, and let's offer a prayer for world healing before we go into individual prayer requests. Let's take a moment. Straighten the spine, lift your gaze. See the world in the potential of expressing divine light in every country, in every culture, in every place, through everybody. See truth seekers, guru bhais, disciples and kriyabans world over channeling this energy for their healing and the healing of all. Let's rub our hands together and send these blessings out into the world. Om Shanti Shanti.